Good morning and welcome to the Chief Data Officer Europe 2017. My name's Adam Plom from Corinium Intelligence and I'm joined by Caroline Carruthers, the Chief Data Officer at Network Rail. Caroline, thank you for joining us.
You're more than welcome, Adam.
I know you've just finished your keynote presentation, you've just come off stage, but I really want to kick off with a kind of introductory question really based on your content today. Can you tell us a little bit more about the digital transformation journey within Network Rail?
When you talk about digital transformation journey, that makes it sound so much more complex than it actually is. I think we keep using big words to talk about something that's really simple. For us, it's really just about helping our organisation understand what they can use their data for, how they can treat it, value it as an asset, and how we move them along that platform. At the moment, the very, very simple vision that I'm focusing on for Network Rail is getting us to a point where we can trust our data. So it's starting at the very, very basics, understanding what's causing us the problems, and more than anything else, it's about going out and talking to people and listening to what they say, and then the really fundamental part is about acting on it.
So you mentioned there about getting people to understand data and understand the benefits of it. How do we get people to understand that? And what stories can you tell, I suppose, to really make them buy into it? Because if you're not data literate, you're not going to get it.
I think we need to. It's partly being passionate ourselves. A part of the keynote that I just spoke about downstairs was about actually we should be passionate about the data. If we're not interested in it, if we're not really, really positive and upbeat and enthusiastic about what we do, we'll never bring other people on this journey with us. So it's about creating the vision of what you want them to be. When it comes down to the really tangible examples, that's different for each person. So it's working with different parts of your organisation, listening to what their business pain points are, and then helping them alleviate some of those. So an example for Network Rail would be that we repeat surveys if we don't trust the information from the first survey. Now that means that there are people out on site who are near trains that are running close to them, and that effectively can put their life in danger. So the more that we can do to stop that happening, have one survey that does everything we need and minimise the amount of people who could potentially be putting their lives in danger, that's a really compelling argument for Network Rail.
Absolutely. How do you really build the enterprise-wide capability? How do, in a kind of a large organisation, how do you bring all those components together so that it works for your needs?
Well, we need to balance it because part of the trap that you can fall into as a chief data officer is when an organisation has a chief data officer, it becomes your problem. So data is your problem, you own it. I do not own the data. Everybody across our organisation does. So what we actually have in Network Rail is a very small central team. I only have 10 people that work directly for me, but I have a much larger matrix team. In combination with that, what I also have is what I call a hub and spoke dandelion model. So I have information champions that sit right throughout our business. So we have communication that ebbs and flows back and forward through the business. And while you could say that my team is the guiding light that's trying to help people head in the right direction, further us along the journey, that light's then taken by the information champions who light up their directorates, their areas, and then convey that. And so it's peppercorned through the whole organisation. It has to be something that people hear from their peers, from their colleagues, and buy into it that way. There's just no one big bang that's going to work for you.
And how do you identify those information champions? How do you go about and pick those guys out in your organisation and put them to work, I guess?
Well, the very first thing that we did, the really simple thing, was go out and ask who was interested, because it's always helpful to have an enthusiastic amateur than it is to have an uninterested expert. We then went around the directorates that didn't come and volunteer for us and explained to the heads of those directorates the responsibility that they carried, so that they're the information risk owners, is the term that we use within Network Rail, and to help them understand the part that they have to play with looking after the risk adverse side of our data and or potentially the value that they could generate. We then use them to identify. In a 35,000 strong organisation, I won't know everybody, and you have to use your network, your stakeholders, and help people come on the journey with you.
Absolutely. And what would you say are the top 3 qualities for a successful CDO? And I know that's a difficult question.
Just 3, okay. I think you have to be passionate about data. So you have to be what I call a data cheerleader. So there's very much a rah, it is absolutely fantastic. You have to be, your communication skills, I think, are a big part of what we have to do. You have to be able to convey the vision and bring people on that journey with you. And if I'm really honest, the third one, it's a little bit of luck.
Excellent. What one tip would you give to anybody who's starting out on not just becoming a CDO, but embarking on any kind of transformative data journey? And I know you don't like that phrase, but any kind of journey of that nature.
More than anything, it's about keeping it simple. So start small, keep it simple, and grow from there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Thank
More
you very
than
much
welcome.
indeed, Caroline. Appreciate it. Thank you.